We interrupt this regularly scheduled Locked On Clippers post-game episode to bring you a bombshell, the biggest news in the NBA, breaking in the middle of the game that James Harden might not be a Clipper by the end of the week. Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and been a Clipper fan for 21 years. Been covering the team on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper for 6 and 4 right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube to get us up to 9,000 subscribers before the end of the month. And we are now the #1 sports podcast network. And of course, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to talk about the biggest news in the NBA. I'm going to be talking about why I think this news broke, how I feel about it, and the angle from the teams that are rumored to be in the trade discussions. So my first thought was, whoa, like my jaw was on the floor. I did not expect in a million years for James Harden to be in trade talks. I know I joked about it sometimes, like, oh, we should sell high and see what's out there. But this seemed like, oh, James Harden wants to leave, the way it was reported by Shams. James Harden wants to leave. So I'm thinking to myself, James Harden has said multiple times he wants to retire a Clipper. So why in the world would James Harden be asking out? And this broke at exactly 8:26 p.m. The Los Angeles Clippers and 11-time All-Star James Harden are working through whether the sides can find a deal by Thursday's NBA trade deadline, sources tell ESPN. Both sides are aligned in conversations together and with interested teams. So my first thought was it has to be something contract related. And this is James Harden's contract situation right now. James Harden is getting paid $39 million this year, but I guess the amount's not fully guaranteed. And then he has a player option for next year that he can opt in and get paid $42,317,307. He wants, usually players are re-upping before the last year of their player option. When they're a star of that caliber, they want to get a new contract. They want to get some more guaranteed money. The Clippers want all the big-time contracts like Kawhi and James off the books in 2027 to go a different direction. That's been pretty public information. James Harden is obviously not going to retire next year. He's too good still. So he probably wants a verbal guarantee because he's technically not extension eligible yet. But he probably wants a verbal guarantee similar to how the Philadelphia 76ers situation went, where he feels, okay, you guys are going to extend me. You're going to give me that faith. Because if you're James Harden, you are 36 years old. You never know when an injury can happen. So that's my biggest thought, is that this is happening because of contract reasons. James Harden wants to re-up. He wants to get probably some kind of verbal confirmation that we're going to extend him. And the Clippers are not about that. Apparently, they've been discussing, according to Brett Siegel, James Harden and the Clippers have been discussing a potential split for weeks, sources told Clutch Points and Tomer Azarly. So, and more information. League sources told Clutch Points that tonight's news was brought forth by James Harden and his camp, as the Clippers were stunned to find out about him wanting out. There's more to that tweet, but I'll talk about that later. Although the team that they're saying is the Cavaliers. I'll talk about their angle, but that's the team that's been named in these rumors. The Cleveland Cavaliers are the team that the Clippers have had talks with, but I'm just so in shock. And for those that are wondering, what are we going to do? Obviously, that depends on the return, but my initial thought was, wow, you knew that this was going to happen eventually, right? You knew that there was going to be a point where James Harden, he wants to retire a Clipper. He was going to want to stay here past 2027, and the Clippers, because I've always wondered that. I was like, James is going to want to stay past 2027. Do they know that? What's going to happen when those conversations come about? And are they going to give in and have James Harden stay, even though they want to go a different direction, allegedly, in 2027? And it seems like they're standing their ground on that. And I think they're absolutely in the right. So it sounds like another Paul George type of situation. And there might be a lot of fans that are saying it's a bummer because, James is still so good and he's having in terms of scoring, he hasn't averaged this many points since 2019-20. I mean, he got snubbed completely from the All-Star game, but you figured we weren't going to have two All-Stars when we're 23 and 26 or 23 and 25 when they were announced. But not having one is insane. Besides the point, James Harden averaging 25, 5, and 8 this year at age 36, and he started 44 games. He's only missed 4 games this whole season. Come on now. Actually, 5 games this whole season. But he's playing really good basketball at the end of the day. He's playing really good basketball. So it's just kind of not a great thing for the team. The guy that's being mentioned is Darius Garland. Darius Garland, I think he's a very good player. He has availability issues, though, compared to Harden, and he's just not as good as even this version of Harden, in my opinion. I think the only year that it was you can make a comparison was last year, but I still think Harden was, the weight that he had to carry was so much greater than Darius Garland, and James Harden also has that playoff experience that Darius Garland just doesn't have. So in the short term, I don't think that this is going to help the Clippers for James Harden to get traded. Now, the question is it actually going to happen? There's rumors that the Cavs want a pick as well. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, why would we do that? We don't. If they want to pick, I'm hanging up the phone. The question is James Harden going to sit out now? Is he going to pull the fat suit stuff where he plays and he's like quitting? Like, I feel like he wouldn't do that to this team. I feel like the Clippers have been good to him. We've been seemingly in lockstep the whole way through, and James has said good things about the organization, and the organization has done the same with James. James's tenure with the Clippers has been overwhelmingly positive, despite, you can say, the lack of playoff success. But James Harden's been the constant that's been available, and that's been that rock for the Clippers. You know what I'm saying? These last 2.5 years since he's been on the team. So, it makes sense that he feels like he deserves something. And it makes sense that the Clippers are standing their ground. The question is like, what's the relationship right now between James Harden and the front office and Lawrence Frank and Trent Redden? What's the relationship? Because if he's like pissed off James Harden, then we're not going to get a great James Harden anymore. I mean, now we know why he's missed games. So is he sitting out? Because he didn't play against Phoenix. He didn't play against Philly. And it's in personal reasons. That was the reason. He wants out. Something has gone on in the background with probably contract negotiations. So we're going to probably get more information in the coming days. But it's just one of the biggest shocks of my time as a Clipper fan to hear this news on Monday night. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, it hasn't been a specific big article that has talked about the main reason why, but everybody seems to suspect it's contract related. Coming up, though, going to be talking about is James Harden quitting on the Clippers, or is he justified in feeling the way that and justified in his stance? Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I got to tell you a little something about Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria like skills, certifications, and location. If I were hiring, I wouldn't just want someone who can help, I'd want someone with real experience who can jump right in. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at indeed.com/podcast. That's indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers your first listen of the day. The NBA trade deadline is basically here, and we want to give you a free month of our new Everydayer Club to help you get ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with the chaos, join ours. I'm in it. I'm trying to talk to Clipper fans. If you're a listener of this show, you can ask me questions. I will respond in there. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat on Discord just for Clipper fans, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from across the league. You also get ad-free versions of this show. So no more ads. I know you guys want that. If you sign up by the trade deadline on February 5th, you can use code DEADLINE to get your first month free. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right. Wow. I'm just still in total shock. But I have to say, I don't believe that James Harden is quitting on the Clips. I don't think it's the kind of thing that we saw in Brooklyn or even, see, I wouldn't say he quit on the Rockets. I mean, I don't know. It depends what you define as quitting, right? Because in Houston, he felt like maybe the team had reached its peak. Maybe he just, based on his moves after Houston, it feels like he's wanted to be the secondary scorer. He still wants to be the main playmaker, but he wants to be the secondary scorer. And in Houston, he was the primary scorer and the primary ball handler. And he felt like, and I think he had problems with the new ownership as well with Tillman Fertitta. So, I think maybe when James Harden's career is all said and done, we'll hear more about that and his exit in Houston because he had the keys to the whole city over there. And then Brooklyn, he fully just quit. He just Kyrie was out the whole year basically with the vaccine thing. And then he came back and then dudes were hurt and Harden had to carry the team. And he didn't want that. And he just left, even though KD and Kyrie ended up being healthy in the playoffs. And then with Philly, he was lied to by Daryl Morey. So it was kind of on his side there. This time, I mean, we're going to hear more information. But look, if James Harden wants a verbal agreement that the Clippers will sign him past 2027, I don't fully blame him. He's 36 years old. Just because he's been Iron Man so far doesn't mean that he might not get injured at any moment. So he wants to take the money when he knows he's good, or just at least get some kind of guarantee when he's still nice, like 25 points a game nice. And again, I don't blame the Clippers either, but I think he's justified in feeling how he does. I don't believe he's quitting on the team, but you can listen. If you think that James Harden is quitting on the team because he's getting money over the current pursuit of the Clippers to get back into the playoff discussion, right now we're in 9th place, but just continue this hot stretch that they've been on, having won 17 of their last 22 games, then you can say he's quitting. But I just think that, you expect too much of NBA players. This is a guy who you've seen bounce to a lot of different franchises at this point, and he's going to do what's best for him financially at the end of the day. And it's not like we're close to winning a championship right now. However, if the Clippers find the right matchup, we can win a series. And if you win a series, you're in the final 8. And that's a privilege. If you're in the final 8, that means there's been something good that's gone right for you, whether you have a good GM or you have a good team or you've gotten some good luck. So, no, I think James Harden is justified in feeling how he does. I just think it's shocking because if you're James, right, you play out the rest of this year, and you have that player option, then this conversation comes about again. Then you opt out of that player option, sign someone else as a free agent. But if you're the Clippers, right, you don't want to let him do that. You'd much rather trade him and get something for him. So that's where we're at. Because I bet you James doesn't mind, playing out the rest of the season and then going somewhere he wants. But it's like you also have to have the cap space to sign him too. Like the new CBA is more complicated. So him getting traded to a team that's still good, like he doesn't want to go somewhere trash. He definitely wants to compete to some degree. So that's why Cleveland is coming up. So coming up, I'm going to talk about the Cleveland angle and just how I'm feeling overall. Because I know a lot of people are asking, like, okay, like Darian or Dime, like, what are you thinking though? Like, yeah, I'm saying it's justified. I'm saying it's about the contract, but like, how am I feeling? We'll talk about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right. So let's get it straight into the potential trade. So some teams that have been rumored to be in the discussion: Minnesota, obviously Cleveland. So the Cleveland thing, that's the one that is kind of being talked about the most. Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated reported that the Clippers and the Cavs have had advanced trade discussions on James for Darius Garland. Now, I really like Darius Garland. He's really shifty, great pick and roll player, really good passer, and a solid pull-up shooter, and he has deep range. However, he's not nearly as available as James Harden, even given his age. This season, the Cavs have played 51 games, and they've played better of late, but he's played 26. He's missed 25 games this season. He's basically missed half the season. And last year, he played 75 games, which was great. But season before, he missed 25 games. Then the season before, 13 games. Season before, 14 games. He misses games. But I think Darius Garland's best years are to come. He was awesome last year. He was healthier. It was his best season of his career, in my opinion. He's only 26 years old. He still could have his prime coming up. And we're talking about this next era of Clipper basketball. Darius Garland's going to want money, but he's a good young player. Like, not young, but like almost in his prime player. And you don't know who we're going to get in 2027. Like, it's not guaranteed we're just going to get like Shea back or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or some Anthony Edwards or one of these guys. Getting Darius Garland is a starting point for a new era. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. When we were talking about the returns we could get for James Harden a couple of weeks ago, I mean, we were not mentioning names like Darius Garland. I can promise you that. So I don't think it's that bad. I'm actually like, okay, I'm going to save my opinion first. So if you're the Cavs, people might be wondering, why would you want James Harden? Because James Harden is more available than Darius Garland, and you want to help Donovan Mitchell win a ring. That's why. And James Harden's better than Darius Garland right now. James is averaging 25 points a game. He's very available. Think of what that could do for a team that's been so banged up this season with Cleveland. And he's on an expiring contract. He has a player option for next year. I would take a flyer on James if I'm the Cavs, especially with how wide open the East is. And if I'm James, I know living in LA versus living in Cleveland, no offense, is going to suck. But, dude, you have a chance to go to the finals. In the West, it's not that easy. Because James, I will say, would the Cavs win a championship with James? Hell no. But they could go far. Like, he could help, I think. He has some of the same flaws as Garland, that's like in that he's like a below average defender that teams are going to go at in the playoffs. But I honestly think James Harden's a better defender in isolation than Garland, just given his size and his hands. So that's the Cavs angle for me. And there's been a lot of talk about Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland like not being the best fit together because they're two smaller guards in the backcourt, with defensive flaws, and they do a lot of the same things. Now, James Harden would be a very ball dominant player, wherever he goes, which you have to kind of change your offense to tailor to being, led by the system. But Cleveland, he would still handle the ball a lot there. And the overall point is this. I think it makes sense for the Cavs. They want to pick as well, which is absurd. Because Darius Garland's younger than Harden, but like Harden's better. And you want to win right now. So like, my overall thoughts are this though. Everybody knows how I feel about James Harden. His game, I do think he's one of the best players of all time. I'm not going to give any ranking, but he was voted as a top 75 player, which he is. And for me, James Harden, I've been adamant, before he came to the Clippers that he's just not going to win a championship. And there's several guys that I feel that way about. One of them was just on the Clippers as well. His name is Paul George. And there's another guy I feel that way about. His name is Chris Paul. And they've had some bad luck throughout their careers, but they also play a certain way or do certain things in big moments that they have to hold themselves accountable for. And their fans need to understand that as well. For me, James Harden is not going to win a championship. So the moment the Clippers got him, I thought, oh, we'll improve. But there's going to be a ceiling that we just hit, and then we're not going to be able to get over with him because the thing about James Harden is he doesn't have a smaller role on a team. He can take a step back scoring wise, but he is going to run the show. He is going to have the ball a lot. And you kind of have to live and die with him. And the way he plays. And the way he plays is he doesn't move without the ball. So he's the best with the ball in his hands, doesn't do much off the ball. He's not always a very willing catch and shoot player. He doesn't really cut. He doesn't even really space. He stands so far away from the basket waiting to get the ball back. He's not really spacing all the time. So he kind of makes you play through him in pick and roll, and he's a fantastic one-man engine pick and roll player, but the offense becomes very stagnant. You can somewhat funnel the ball to who you want. He still will get a good shot for your team, most likely, but you're going to live with James Harden taking that step back three in the playoffs after he's dribbling so much. It's just predictable, and then he doesn't play defense it's not that he doesn't play defense, but in the playoffs, like you can see he's not a very good defender. He's had his moments, but you have to compensate for his lack of defense with a good defensive roster and good personnel around him. And those guys need to be able to shoot. And then on top of that, even though he had that kind of personnel in Houston, people say he doesn't have enough ball handlers. It's because you have to surround him with shooters and defenders. So for me, James Harden, then there's the fact that in playoff games, in big playoff games, he has after the hamstring, if I was talking about Harden pre-hamstring, that's a different conversation. Because Harden pre-hamstring, we didn't really see as a second option in his prime. You could wonder, wow, what if James Harden was playing with like a KD in his prime, the way Steph Curry was? What would that have looked like? Or James playing with Kawhi at that time, what would that have looked like? Would James Harden be a champion right now? All we know is what James Harden was doing as a first option. And then when he became that, second option essentially on the Nets with Kyrie Irving, that's when he looked like he was the closest to winning a championship. And then obviously there was some bad luck involved in 2021. But after that, he's still been a great player, but he's not like top 5 in the league anymore. But he's still a great player. This version of James Harden, though, has gone out very sorry, and he can't create the same amount of shots that he used to. And eventually, when you neglect the mid range and you don't really have that pull up on a dime when people are running you off the line in your bag, and you don't really like post up or catch inside the arc, it's going to be easy to kind of prevent your shots because all you got to do is press up on him and then have a guy meet him in the paint so he doesn't take that floater and he kicks it out. And then you kind of live and die with role players. That's kind of how it goes. And then defensively, he gets exploited. James, I just don't think it's going to work out for him when it comes to winning a championship. I think that the way that he plays, you put so much into him, and it's just too much dribbling. It's too much everybody standing around, and that's just not really championship basketball if you look historically. It's really not. And it's just everyone's standing around. It's like it puts so much pressure when you get the ball and take those shots, and you're not always in rhythm that way. And the fouls that James consistently gets in the regular season, he doesn't get those same calls all the time in the postseason. So for me, James has been great for the Clippers. We'll see if this even happens, but I don't think it's that big a deal. And for me, who just can't stand watching that style of play, of course, I'm feeling pretty good if this happens. People are going to say I'm a fake fan because it's worse for the team in the short term. It's not about the short term. I don't think we're going to win a championship this year. I don't even think we'll be lucky to win one series. And does getting Darius Garland or whoever we're going to get in exchange for James make us better this year? No, it doesn't. But it might kickstart the future. And I genuinely believe that James Harden's not going to win a championship. So you never know what we could get. Maybe that person fits better with Kawhi and gives us a different element. Maybe it makes us better defensively. I don't know. But it's about the long term, what's best for the Clippers. And I do believe that long term, we get rid of James. We start to go a different direction. If we get a young player back, like a Darius Garland, I don't think that's a bad thing. If you're telling me you're at least getting Darius Garland for James, that's a good return. Considering what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. Look, for the Clipper fans that have fallen in love with James, and because James has been a good Clipper, he has been really good to the fans and he's been available. And 2025 last season was really fun. First year into it, that year will always be a James Zoo led year. I get it. The sentiment. I appreciate what James has done. I can't say I'll be sad when he leaves. I'm going to tell you that. I mean, it's going to be more enjoyable for me to watch the team. And it's going to also make my episodes more enjoyable because everybody knows that I'm not a huge fan of the way the team plays. And I haven't been for a while, basically the majority of my tenure as a host of this show. So it's going to be so much better content too. But you know what? At the end of the day, no matter if it's James Harden or not, I'm still supporting the Clippers mission, whatever it is. And if it's this year, that mission is to make the play-in and make some noise that way. I'll support the team regardless, but crazy to absorb all this. James Harden having contract disputes, most likely with the Clippers front office, wants out and has been talking about it for weeks. He wants that guaranteed money. And man, oh man, we might see a trade of James Harden this week. Which is going to drastically change our team and maybe our future. Don't blame James, honestly. I think Clipper fans should still be appreciative of James. Top 10 Clipper of all time for me. I said it. But damn. Is it going to come to an end after just 2.5 years? That's crazy. I was excited to make this episode. I'm not going to lie. This is crazy news. It's never a dull moment in Clipperland, is it? You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper and LA sports content. I went live to directly react to the news on Dime Dropper as well, so check that out. And then, of course, this show, Locked On Clippers. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video on the road to 9,000 subscribers. Let me know what you think of all this in the comment section below. And, of course, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, the Everydayer Club. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Clippers so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Clippers ad-free, plus a members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonclippers.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA. The age-old Proverb continues. Go Clippers.